afternoon, America. I'm Erickson. Thanks for tuning in to 4 Things to Know this afternoon. As always, we're cutting through the noise, getting to the truth behind the headlines. Let's get right to it today. Up first, our big story is the June inflation report. The numbers are in, and the annual inflation rate rose to 2.7% from 2.4% last month. Right in line with what economists were predicting. Core inflation, which strips out food and energy, has followed the same trend, but it hit 2.9%, also in line with expectations. Prices on items most impacted by tariffs showed the most increase: furniture, toys, and clothes. Consumer prices showed the largest monthly gain since January, even as car prices unexpectedly fell. What's really driving these numbers? Well, shelter and some service costs are still stubbornly high. Goods prices have flattened for the most part outside of those most impacted by tariffs. Food price gains have moderated, although we're showing some signs of tariffs increasing prices for certain produce items imported into the country. Gas isn't surging the way it did a year or two ago, which is really helping. The Federal Reserve is reportedly feeling enough confidence to stick with current rates for now, choosing to wait and see before making any more moves. That's why there's a pressure campaign on Jerome Powell. It's really not about ousting him, but trying to get the Fed to cut rates now. 2.7% is better than where we were, but it's still above the Fed's 2% target. Let's not forget just 2 years ago, inflation was eating away at real wages, family budgets, and retirement savings. Even now, cumulative price hikes are still pinching working Americans already cautious about spending. Likewise, tariffs are showing signs of causing price increases in groceries and some consumer staples now. Trump supporters insist suddenly that tariffs causing price increases, not actually inflation, but policy choices, and therefore should not weigh on the Federal Reserve. This amounts to similar behavior when Biden supporters insisted we needed to redefine what a recession was when they didn't like the news. If there's a silver lining, it's that the era of runaway inflation appears to be behind us, but policymakers need to resist the urge to overcorrect. Interest rates are high enough already. There's no need to choke off recovery to prove a point, and there may be grounds for a small reduction in the interest rate. That might further stimulate the economy, keep us out of recession. Second up is a major demonstration of U.S. alliance strength in the Indo-Pacific. The United States, along with 19 allies and partners, just kicked off the largest joint military exercise in the region, the biennial Rim of the Pacific, or RIMPAC drills, involving 40,000 troops. This is a big deal. The exercise sends an unmistakable signal to Beijing. China's assertiveness, both in the South China Sea and around Taiwan, has been the single biggest factor uniting the U.S., Japan, Australia, and other allies. The RIMPAC maneuvers are aimed at building cohesion and readiness in the event of a crisis. Participating countries range from regional heavyweights to smaller Asian and European democracies, showcasing an increasingly coordinated front against Chinese adventurism. For the United States, this is about more than just showing the flag. It's about concrete deterrence. The message is clear. If Beijing tries to change the status quo by force, it won't just have to face the United States. It'll have a multinational coalition ready to stand up to aggression. For conservatives, this is the kind of unifying, practical, grown-up foreign policy that we've been wanting, and it puts American security first. Peace is maintained through strength and reliability. Words and summits aren't substitute for viable demonstration that the free world will defend its interests. Sadly, up next, we must move to new scrutiny about the Epstein campaign, or the Epstein case, rather. The issue resurfaced after a House panel with prominent Democrat Ro Khanna sending a letter to the Justice Department asking for a deeper look into whether Trump and others in his circles received special treatment in the Epstein investigation. The panel is seeking internal DOJ communications and wants prosecutors to clarify whether names and facts might have been overlooked during the last administration. Democrats are raising the specter of high-profile connections and demanding more transparency from the DOJ on how Epstein's friends and potential accomplices were handled. Republicans, for their part, say this is political theater designed to smear Trump without new evidence of wrongdoing. It's Democrats trying to capitalize on a split within MAGA over the Epstein situation. Conservatives need to keep in mind Epstein was a criminal who exploited his access to the high and mighty in both parties, and every administration has a duty to investigate connections regardless of where they lead. But the presumption of innocence remains, and rehashing old allegations without new facts deepens cynicism in our institution. The best path forward is transparency. Release what can be released, protect the victims, and avoid all unnecessary complications or mistakes and exaggerations in the evidence moving forward. There's got to be some better resolution here than what we're getting from the Justice Department right now. Our last story is about the legal aftermath of the Epstein scandal. The Justice Department is urging the Supreme Court not to take up the appeal of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's longtime accomplice. They're arguing her conviction and 20-year prison sentence should stand. Maxwell's attorneys claim her trial was unfair due to widespread publicity, and they argue jurors were tainted by social media and news coverage. The DOJ counters that all proper procedures were followed, the jury was carefully screened, and the evidence was overwhelming. The case matters for two reasons. First, it's about justice for Epstein's many victims, many of whom have waited years to see any accountability at all. Second, it's a test of whether high-profile defendants can use public opinion as an excuse to escape consequences. The Department of Justice is making a clear statement. No matter how wealthy or connected you are, you don't get a free pass from the law. This is the rule of law in action. Public confidence has been shaken by how long powerful people have gotten away without facing the music. The Supreme Court review will be closely watched, not to settle political scores, but to ensure real justice is done. That's it. Those are the things you need to know. 4 things you got to know this afternoon before you get home. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app. Just look for 4 things to know this afternoon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/EW Erickson. It helps us grow. And I am Erick Erickson. Until next time, please stay informed, stay engaged, and always, please keep the faith.